Here's the thing. Here's the thing. We listen to speakers in rooms. Think about that. So, great speakers. How many rave reviews, how many accolades, how many other people say they're great? Good start. But a great speaker in the wrong room isn't going to sound great. This is not. The speaker plays the room. Now, there's so many factors in determining what's going to work, but room size, the ratio of room size and speaker size are definitely part of the deal. And then, of course, the kind of music that you're going to listen to, the partnering electronics that you're going to use with the speakers, the flexibility you have in terms of placing the speakers within a room, it all comes into play. And I'm sorry to be so blunt about it, but failure to observe those variables can lead to very expensive mistakes, right? So you'll be churning through speakers. Oh, I read a great review on this one from Steve or from Don Darko, and I got it. Your room is not right. Now, we could start with the obvious, right? That large speakers, however you want to define them, but large speakers tend to sound best in large rooms. And I'm making this video today because I have this friend who for years has been jonesing for big Magnepans. He wants the 20.7 or maybe even the 30.7. He's got a lot of money. He can afford them. But his room is not that big. I think it's about 12 feet by 16 feet. That's not a very big room. And these are very big speakers. Very big speakers. And they need a lot of space around them. You can't jam them up against a wall. And no matter how many times we've had this conversation going round and round and round about these speakers, he keeps going, oh, but I've heard him at a show. I heard him at Lyric, the store that's no longer there, unfortunately. They're one of the first high-end stores in the country, Lyric Hi-Fi. It closed recently, and that's very, very sad because it was a really important institution, and I'm sorry to see it go. But anyway, he heard some big Maggies there, and he's been thinking about them. Didn't buy them, though, from Lyric because he's still thinking. He's still churning it around, but at least he hasn't made a mistake and pulled the trigger and bought the wrong speaker for that room. And I'm saying, why don't you buy a smaller Magnepan? Why don't you buy a 1.7? That will work in that room if you give them enough space. But I want this, and I read, it's like, no, please don't do it. please, don't buy the wrong speaker. And that's just to him, but the general advice of this show today is about think before you buy, don't buy the wrong speaker. That's where we're starting today. So if you have a big room, 18 by 24 feet or something like that, or larger, right? You shouldn't buy a stand mount speaker with a 6-inch or smaller woofer. That's probably not going to sound good unless, see, there's always the unless you just want background music. Or play it sort of medium-ish loud from time to time. Yeah, a decent stand mount speaker in a room that big or bigger will be okay. Comes in the limitations come into play when you want to energize that room and party to it, or you like loud music. Then big rooms need big speakers. And small rooms tend to sound best with smaller speakers. 6-inch woofers or smaller, really small rooms. But see, the most universal speakers that fit in most rooms tend to be stand mount small speakers or skinny floor standing speakers, right? Because most rooms aren't big. Most people, even who have nice houses and stuff, tend to cram the audio into the basement or the attic or something. So they don't usually get the big room anyway. Even if there is a big room in the house that would support the big speakers, they don't usually get that room. So stand mount speakers or skinny floor standers are the easiest way to go. The room compatibility issue is less of a factor when you're talking about smaller speakers in average size rooms. So don't think too big unless you got a big room. This wasn't in my notes for this video, but if possible, and you can arrange for an in-home audition or to borrow them from the dealer or the person selling the speakers to hear them in your space, well, that helps. That's definitely good, because it may become very clear very quickly whether the speaker is a good match for your room, your taste, your electronics, and your speaker placement restrictions, because everybody's got, you can't just put them anywhere, you got to put them in certain parts of the room. So that's going to also play a role. So if you can try this speaker or a similar speaker at home, that would be very, very helpful in terms of you understanding what's going on. Then another part of this story is big speakers tend to make more bass than smaller speakers. Great, if you want more bass, that's a good thing. But what if you live in an apartment and you have neighbors or family members that will object to all that bass shaking the room? Is that something you can deal with? You know, you don't want to get this thing and then have people banging on the wall or the ceiling or the floor saying, turn that down, right? Not a good idea. So bass is also part of this thing about great speakers or big speakers. You got to think about it. So you guys know that I have Klipsch Cornwall 4s as one of my reference speakers. They're big speakers, they have 15-inch woofers, they make a lot of bass. And sometimes it's fun to just crank them up, at least for short periods of time, because I do have neighbors, and just feel it, you know? I do it in the daytime, people are out at work and stuff, so it's not that big a deal. But I also play them, you know, medium loud, and I play them very quietly late at night. And these speakers seem to work at every volume level. So that's another factor when picking a speaker that's gotten rave reviews. Is it good at the volume levels that you will be playing it at? Something to think about, something you should definitely think about. So as I alluded to earlier, Magnepans need to be placed out into the room, about 3 feet or more out into the room. And it's same for electrostatic speakers, same for open baffle speakers. To create that big stage, that big deep stage that panels can create, they need space. But there is one exception, and that is Ohm speakers. They're made here in Brooklyn. They're omnidirectional speakers, which normally would also need to be placed well out into the room. But these specific ones that Ohm makes, they're designed to be placed very close to wall, 6-10 inches away from the wall will do it. And they create a huge stage because they're radiating sound near 360 degrees, and they create that big, big stage. They truly disappear. Phenomenal speakers. So if your room limitation is you can't have speakers out into the room and you want that big, spacious sound, Ohm acoustic speakers like the Walsh 2000s that I reviewed, that I'll link to right there, are the way to go. Now, when I reviewed them, I had, at that point, I no longer have to do that, but when I did that review, I had to have them well out into the room, and they work fine that way, but they do sound better placed near walls. So there is an option of a great speaker, big stage, and still close to a wall. One thing is clear if you look around the marketplace for quality audiophile and high-end speakers, is that box speakers are still by far the most popular type. Especially stand mount ones, because they fit in most real size rooms, right? But high-end ones, very high-end stand mount speakers like the Wilson Audio Tune Tot, the Harbeth 30.2, the Dynaudio Heritage Special that I reviewed very recently, the Chartwell LS6. Those are, medium-size-ish stand-mount speakers that are truly high-end, can produce glorious results in a normal-size room, and even a little bigger than normal. But in terms of the quality of the sound, not just the quantity, meaning how loud and how deep it goes, in terms of quality of sound, speakers like those are truly exceptional. Those are really expensive speakers, but then there's the second tier of really audiophile speakers, work in most rooms really, really well. like the PMC 2521i. Great. Oh man, that was amazing speaker. The Golden Ear Technology BRX. Of course, the B&W 607 S2 Anniversary. I love that speaker. I wish I could get a hold of the model up from that, the 606 S2. But yeah, there's definitely options at all price ranges. And of course, the ever popular speaker that's over my shoulder there, the Klipsch RP600M. And any of those, just to name one amplifier two, that I could throw out as companions to those speakers in this second tier, would be the Yamaha AS801 or the Rogue Sphinx V3 integrated amplifier. They're both integrated amps. So what I'm shooting for today is for people who are looking to buy speakers in the near future, right? And you've been, looking over reviews, trying to find the best ones that sort of work for you, kind of deal. But I want you to think of all those other factors: room size, the electronics that you're going to be using with your music choices, all of those parameters and more, like sensitivity, for example, come into play and should not be ignored. Definitely pay attention, because failure to do so can be expensive. So I think we've done it. I think we have absolutely done it. Hit the nail on the head, which is to say, this is the Audiophiliac Daily Show. If you like what I do here, please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. You can do that by hitting the button right there. When you do, hit the bell so you'll be notified every time there's an amazing new episode. And there tends to be one pretty much every other day, so 4 a week. What else? Well, we got the Patreon. Oh my God, we do have the Patreon. And that can be found at patreon.com/audiophiliac. Oh, there is this contest. We do have this call for viewer systems, your systems, but there's a catch this time. There's always a catch. And the catch is, I want the pictures to be submitted by people who are under 30 years old. And the price of the system is relevant. Could be home theater, could be stereo, could be desktop, headphones, whatever. I don't really care. You just send me great pictures. 2 pictures, no more than 2 JPEGs. Must be JPEGs, no more than 2. I'm only going to look at 2 pictures from any one submission. And that's kind of it. And you send them to audiophiliac@mail.com, and I will link to that below. So, and the deadline for entries, by the way, is April 20th. And submissions after April 20th, I won't be looking at them, so please don't. And main thing is nice pictures, clear pictures, in focus pictures. And it's also really important, hugely important, that you tell me what's in the picture, so I can tell everybody else what's in the picture. We have so much here for you right now at your disposal. And that could be anything from speaker reviews. Oh, so many speaker reviews, headphone reviews, electronics reviews, and music reviews, plus interviews. And I will be doing more real interviews, face-to-face interviews coming up soon. And actually, I have one Zoom coming up, I hope, with a great musician and a real hero of mine. I'm excited. He's not exactly a household name, but he is a very big deal. And now I can say, as I like to, my work here is at last complete. So thank you so much for watching. And I really do hope to see you back here again very soon, like 2 days from now. Bye-bye.